Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And so today I am going to be talking about this deal that Raw made, or WWE made, with Netflix. Now, there's a lot of things we got to talk about Netflix now, because there's a certain other thing that they're doing on Netflix right now that obviously I want to cover and talk about after some new news came out of that as well, and get my 2 cents on that one as well. But we got to cover this first, because this is a week old, and I've been wanting to give my 2 cents on the Netflix deal now, with Raw. So, Netflix, it was announced about a little over a week ago now that Monday Night Raw will be moving from the USA Network to Netflix exclusively streaming, starting January 2025. And Netflix has shelled out reportedly $10 billion for 10 years for Monday Night Raw. And there is an opt-out after 5 years. Netflix can back out after 5 years. Supposedly, but 5 years, 10 years of Netflix having Raw, to me, is a bad deal, because I don't think fans are going to do it. Like, it's one thing for fans to join free TV, but for them to have to go to a subscription, I don't know if everyone's going to fully convert just to watch Raw. Okay. I really don't think that's going to be, like, I know some people are like, oh, well, it's a big established brand. People are going to do that. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if people want to shell out more for a streamer, especially Netflix, with all the restrictions that they have, where you can only have one household or whatever at a time, unless you have, like, a special package or whatever, or more of a bigger package or whatever. I don't think people want to do that shit. I don't fucking want to do that. So I think this is a bad business deal from Raw and Netflix's perspective, especially with what Netflix is going through with a lot of their failed, original shows that they've had. I mean, other than, I think, Wednesday and One Piece, I can't even think of ones that I think have been successful right now on Netflix. And again, those are, established IPs that they're using. Addams Family, and then, of course, One Piece being a successful anime, and Oda having control of it, of course. I don't know how Raw being there is going to bring people in. Like, non-wrestling fans are not going to be interested. Like, I mean, yeah, if you're going for wrestling fans to come in and get the Netflix platform, then I guess it's successful, but you would have to expect that every wrestling fan is going to just be like, you know what? I absolutely have to get this streaming service for Monday Night Raw. There aren't that many wrestling fans that are going to be, like, dying to get Raw exclusively on Netflix. It's one thing for them to get it on TV, but then to have to go through a streaming service, especially when you have to go for other things and other things you want to watch, some people are probably not going to do it. And also, you still have Friday Night SmackDown on USA Network, which is another thing that's really peculiar to me. And I don't think really people have really touched on this that well, okay? What really procures me what really is peculiar to me about this Netflix deal is that about a month before, I think it was either a month or two before, Netflix announced that they were getting Raw, USA Network announced that they were getting SmackDown, okay, on the USA Network. So a lot of people thought that they were going to lose Raw, which they ended up doing, of course. But they got SmackDown because Fox didn't want it anymore. And so the popular belief was that it was probably going to go to another channel, that Raw was going to go to another channel, but they didn't know what channel it was going to go to. But a lot of popular belief 2 months ago was that it was probably going to go to another channel. If it did go to a streaming service, it was probably going to go to Peacock, because Peacock already has the pay-per-views and essentially the WWE Network. Maybe Prime, because they got the football stuff on there now too, for Thursday night. But no one really, especially the rumors, because also there was Discovery possibly trying to get Raw, Warner Bros. Discovery, which I never really believed that. Like, I thought it was kind of an interesting idea, especially trying to, try to, get rid of AEW, off the network, because obviously if you get Raw, you have to get rid of AEW. So I thought that would have been an interesting, dynamic if they decided to go in that route. But I never really believed that it was really going to happen, because of all the stupid crap that's going on with Warner Brothers Discovery right now. They're in real financial debt right now. So them, shelling out money to get Raw and kick, AEW off, which they would have had to have a payout to get rid of AEW. I don't think that was really going to be a good idea for them business-wise. But I thought it was kind of a funny conversation to kind of have, though. Especially after how they screwed over CM Punk. But I think the belief was that it was going to go to a channel, though. That Raw was going to go to another channel. We didn't know which channel it was going to go to, but we thought it was going to go to a channel. So announcing it and it going to Netflix is really interesting. Now, ever since the announcement came out, there has been something that was reported about how the WWE Network in other countries, not the U.S., because in the U.S. Peacock has the exclusive rights to the WWE Network until 2026. That was the contract that they signed, about 5 years ago or whatever it was. But what I thought was interesting was that because other countries outside of the U.S. have the WWE Network still the way it was before Peacock. And basically what came out is that the WWE Network in the countries outside of the United States that don't have it on Peacock are basically going to be losing the WWE Network by the end of 2024. That was something that really wasn't talked about that much. Now, again, they can't get rid of the WWE Network off of Peacock because they have a contract until 2026, which shows all the past matches and whatnot, as well as the live pay-per-views. So that's going to be still around on Peacock until 2026. But the fact that they're closing the WWE Network on all these other countries outside of the United States that don't have Peacock or don't have some exclusive deal of the network being on another platform, I find it really interesting that they're closing it in 2024. Which leads me to believe that Netflix is possibly going to get the pay-per-view soon in other countries going forward on the WWE Network. Now, I don't know exactly what other countries have Netflix. I don't know if Netflix is worldwide or if it's just in certain countries. I know Hulu had that problem as well, but Hulu's going to be gone in the springtime this year anyways. Since it will fully merge with Disney+. But you get the point. I don't exactly know if Netflix is worldwide on every country yet or if it's just in certain countries. But anyways, supposedly they're closing the WWE Network outright unless it's already in an established contract with, Peacock or someone else from your country that has it. But if it's a straight-out WWE Network app like it used to be before Peacock streaming service, then it's closing in 2024. That's been confirmed. Will that mean that that will go to Netflix or will go to another streaming service? The pay-per-views will go to another streaming service. And then that will also lead to what happens to Peacock in 2026. Will Peacock maintain the rights to the WWE pay-per-views and the network after 2026? Will they still get that? That's going to be another issue because that's a gray area. We don't know. There could be a bidding war for that. I don't know if they can negotiate right now with Netflix getting the pay-per-views. Right now they're getting Raw, but the contract isn't for pay-per-views. It's just for Monday Night Raw. A lot of people are under the belief that eventually Netflix is going to get everything, that they're going to get SmackDown as well too, which that is not true because SmackDown, the USA Network just signed SmackDown to another 5-year contract. So SmackDown will be on USA for like the next 5 years. So Netflix is not getting SmackDown. They're not getting NXT because I think NXT is also in the deal as well for SmackDown. That's all staying on SmackDown because again, I don't understand the structural decision making here. Because, again, they announced that SmackDown was going to USA Network 2 months ago, or whatever it was when they announced it. And then, of course, now we're hearing that Raw is exclusively going to Netflix. If the whole idea was for Netflix to eventually get everything, why would they then allow the USA Network to get SmackDown? You know what I'm saying? Why would they allow the USA Network to get SmackDown? That doesn't make any sense. And allow them to continue that relationship. Now, again, Raw had been on the USA Network since 2005 after they took it over from Spike TV. So it is an end of an era for the USA Network having Raw, but they're still going to have SmackDown now. They're going to take that away from Fox once their deal ends in September. So SmackDown still being on TV is really interesting because, again, they're going to be there for another 5 years. So this, and depending on how Netflix performs with Monday Night Raw, they could get out in 5 years. That's another thing. Netflix can opt out in 5 years from their 10-year contract if they're not seeing the numbers that they want to see. So Netflix isn't exactly going to be a lifer to WWE if this doesn't work out, and you still have the USA Network. So the way I look at this, because a lot of people just think that everything's going to Netflix eventually, I don't necessarily know if that's the case here because, again, Peacock still has the network until 2026 in the US. I'm not exactly sure in the other countries of which countries have the rights for the network or not. But in the U.S., Peacock has the pay-per-views until 2026. I believe the pay-per-view rights as well as the catalog network rights are going to be in a bidding war between Peacock and Netflix. Because Universal owns Peacock and they own the USA Network that's going to show SmackDown. So Peacock is going to want to keep the network on, or Universal is going to want to keep the WWE Network on Peacock. They're going to want to keep that on there, which means there's going to be a huge bidding war for the pay-per-view. I believe there's going to be a huge bidding war between Netflix and Peacock for the pay-per-views. There's going to be. I don't think this is going to be all Netflix. I don't think this is clear cut that Netflix is just going to magically just get the pay-per-views once the contract comes to an end. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think Peacock is going to make a huge jump to try and extend that contract and keep the pay-per-view rights for all the live pay-per-views. There's going to be a huge bidding war between the streaming services. Netflix, this contract was just for Raw. It was not for SmackDown. I think NXT is in the SmackDown deal. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think NXT is part of the SmackDown deal with USA Network. The deal for Raw is just Raw for Netflix. Which again, from a fan perspective, I don't like this because again, the way I look at it, it's it's going to be harder for people to want to get it if you want to get it on Netflix, especially with the way they structure their streaming service. Also, I do think it will hurt wrestlers. How are wrestlers supposed to tell? How are you supposed to tell if a wrestler is a draw if you can't figure out the TV ratings? Because they're not on TV and Netflix is they don't have to give out what their ratings are for who's watching it on Netflix. Because of that, you're not going to know who's a draw. You're going to have to rely on merch and fan reaction. But how Vince McMahon was. I know Vince McMahon's not there anymore. He's still a major shareholder though, so he is still kind of there even though he's not there. But my point is, you remember how when Vince was in charge, he jammed Roman Reigns down our throats, right? Well, with this Netflix deal, he pretty much can justify, or whoever's running WWE now in the next 5 years, they can pretty much justify that, he is a draw. He could say whoever the next Roman or whoever they want to be the next Roman Reigns. Hopefully they don't have another Roman Reigns or a John Cena where everyone's getting booed all the freaking time when they're a babyface. But again, that happened because they jammed people down our throats. They did it with Cena, not to the worst extent they did to Roman Reigns, but you get the point. They jammed that down the throats. Fans hated it. They booed it out of the building. And, with no TV ratings, you're going to keep that sentiment going, where it's like, oh, well, you have no proof that, he is a draw or isn't a draw because we can't see the damn TV numbers or the streaming numbers for who's watching Raw live. Who's watching it live? We can't see that. You get what I'm saying? We will never know who's a draw or who isn't a draw because of this. And that's a big concern for me. Unless Netflix decides to start making their live streaming, numbers public, we're not going to know who actually is a draw anymore. And we're going to have to rely on merch. Now, we'll still figure that out on SmackDown. But if we're having a brand split still, which I think they will, then we're not going to have that. So on SmackDown, we're going to know who draws and who doesn't. But on Raw, we're not going to really know only from merch sales or, crowd interaction, at the live arenas. That's all we're going to really know. So again, to me, it is a big problem for a fan perspective for WWE. For a lot of reasons, as I said, about the not knowing who's a draw. Not many people might subscribe. They might inflate the numbers and say who subscribed or didn't, but some people might just not subscribe. I mean, I'm still iffy on the whole thing as well. I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. I mean, I really don't like Netflix. I'm just going to be flat out straight up with people. I don't like Netflix. I think they're a horrible streaming service. I don't like the way they, conduct the whole streaming service thing. The whole streaming service thing with Netflix to me is really bad because you can only have one on there on the lease package or whatever, and they'll watch you or whatever. They'll track it. Unless you get the higher package or whatever. It's such bullshit. Most streaming services don't do this. I know some are starting to adopt it more, but I think it's such a crock of shit that they do it, and it's because Netflix started that whole thing. And so I blame Netflix more than any other streaming service because they're the ones who started it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know if I want to shell out extra money just to fucking goddamn watch Raw. You know? You know, I mean, that's what that's my whole take on Netflix right now. I just, you know, you got SmackDown still, you know, on TV, you know, and I think that's going to be an issue with some fans. It's like, you know, some fans are going to be like, well, you know, we can just watch SmackDown. I think SmackDown is going to benefit more than Raw because SmackDown will be on free TV still. You know, SmackDown's going to be on free TV for another 5 years, you know, so people are going to, I think the ratings are going to increase on USA Network and get even bigger, you know, because more people are going to inflamed on SmackDown because SmackDown's on TV. And based on the way this whole deal is structured, SmackDown is probably not going to be the flagship show anymore, too. Because if for anybody who doesn't know, we all know Raw is supposed to be the flagship show because they've been around for a long time. They've been around longer than SmackDown. But when WWE signed that big deal with Fox back in 2018, I think it was, 2018, WWE made SmackDown the flagship show over Raw. They publicly said it in their press release. They made it the flagship show. That's why Roman Reigns is on SmackDown. The reason why Roman Reigns is on SmackDown and not on Raw is because SmackDown was dubbed the flagship show when it went to Fox because Fox shelled out the $1 billion. They were the first. People to, you know, company to do that, to give $1 billion, over $1 billion to get SmackDown for the next 5 years. Obviously, they decided not to renew it because they weren't getting enough numbers from it. And so that's why USA Network's doing it. And they paid a hefty penny this time around, too. Not nearly as much as they did for when they renegotiated for Raw 5 years ago. And that's why WWE is asking for this kind of money because of what Fox did. And they wanted the same amount of money that they got from Fox, even though Fox didn't want to do that. You know, they wanted more than what Fox originally, you know, gave the last time around because they wanted more than that. And so now that's why you're getting into the billions with, you know, these TV deals for Raw and SmackDown. And so USA had to shell out a lot to get SmackDown. I don't know why they didn't just try to get Raw rather than SmackDown, to be completely honest with you. I don't know why SmackDown... I guess because SmackDown was more valued because of Fox. But, you know... That's the only thing I can think of is because SmackDown was more valued than Raw in the last 5 years because of how they advertised SmackDown as the flagship show because Fox paid more money for SmackDown than USA Network paid for Raw the last time around. And that's the only thing I can think of to why they would want SmackDown over Raw this time around. But now that Netflix has gotten Raw, and I think they paid more money than USA Network did to get SmackDown. So WWE might be like, you know what, we're going to make Raw the flagship show again like it originally was. And really should be, honestly, but we're going to make Raw the flagship show. And we're going to probably see Cody then on Raw. Well, he's going to be on SmackDown once he wins the title because that's just how the structure works. But I'm almost certain they'll probably draft him to Raw, you know, when the draft happens again later on in the year, because they're going to want the main champion on Raw. You know, the reason why Roman has been the main champion on SmackDown, I know a year ago or whatever, he was on both brands because they only had one world champion, but you know, obviously that changed once they got Seth as a world champion as well, and they had two world champions again. You know, that's why he was primarily on SmackDown over Raw. You know, it was because SmackDown was the flagship show. That's how they built it up. So, I could see that, switching once Cody becomes the face of the company. He'll be on SmackDown for a little bit since he is going for the SmackDown title once he takes on Roman, because he will take on Roman at WrestleMania 40. But this is where I see it, guys. This is how I see it happening. Again, hopefully USA Network can continue keeping SmackDown even beyond that, to keep it on TV. And hopefully, I'm really hoping that, even though I think Peacock has a lot of problems with the network, not being able to rewind live pay-per-views if you get there late, I really hope that they can keep it over Netflix. I really do. Once 2026 hits. But yeah, guys, this is my thoughts, and this is where I do think it's a bad business move for a network, and even really for Netflix, since Netflix, is losing a lot of money from a lot of these failed shows that they're doing. So that's what I think. Comment, rate. If you like this video, my videos, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell for our latest contents. Thank you. And that's about it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I'm the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of it. Peace. Also, make sure subscribe to the YouTube channel SS Ultimate Goku, Twitch the SS Ultimate Goku, Instagram the SS Ultimate Goku, and I also do have a Discord link in the description where we talk about anime dubs, cartoons, NFL, AEW, WWE, live action movies, live action TV shows, all that good stuff. So make sure to go there and we discuss topics. And that's it. Now I'm out. Peace.